Hey designer toy fans, are you looking for a new store to check out?
Yes, we are!
Have you ever been to Rotofugi in Chicago, Illinois?
No, we haven't!
Well, you might want to check it out. It's been there since July of 2004, and they have everything designer toys. Everything you can imagine that would be designer toys, including Kidrobot,
Pins,
Safubi,
plush,
pop vinyl.
and so much more.
Make sure to head over to rotofugi.com and check out their online store as well, where you can pick up things and have them delivered right to your door. But if you're in the Chicago area, make sure to stop in and say hi to the Rotofugi crew.
Hey everybody, welcome to the UVD Weekly Wrap-Up, the show where the team from UrbanVinylDaily.com goes over everything there is to know in the designer toy, art, street art, and Safubi world. I'm your host, Travis Likens.
And I'm Ben Pierce.
And I just realized something.
What'd you realize?
We're not the team from UrbanVinylDaily.com anymore.
Well, we still are, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, we haven't officially turned over the reins to the unknown entity.
Yeah.
So, technically, we still are. We're still at the reins.
UrbanVinylDaily.com is still a website.
It's still a thing. It just redirects to our toy store.
So, yeah. But anyway, so I'm Travis.
And I'm Ben.
And we're here for a episode 50, which we have entitled
The L.
The L. We've entitled The State of Designer Toys Part 2.
A year later.
So we're going to give you some news here shortly. And we're also going to give you some updates on our thoughts based on a video that we published last August where we talked about the state of designer toys at the time. And we're going to give you an update on what we think happened a year later. First, though, I want to say thank you to everyone who wrote us and sent us emails and texted or Facebook messaged or whatever it was that was saying, thanks for all the support and stuff over the years for the announcement we made last week about ending UrbanVinylDaily.com, the blog, and focusing on our videos and our production efforts. So just to clarify, there was some confusion, I feel like. People thought we were ending everything. No, we are not.
No, we are still wearing our hats. We are not hanging them up.
So we're still here. We're still talking on the videos and we're still doing production. And that's not to say we won't do other stuff in the future. Just right now, it doesn't make a lot of sense for us to have an entire blog or website dedicated to us where we're not updating and paying money to host it. So look for other outlets and other things for us to be doing in the future. But the main focus right now are these videos and, of course, producing toys and pens.
Especially when we just professionally sucked at posting. And there are several entities that are doing just a lot better than we do.
Yeah, they're doing a lot better. And we do have an update. I guess we can kind of let some of the air out of the bag on this. But the
cat?
The cat or the air, it doesn't matter.
This is a balloon that we're letting air out.
So many of you like to check out our interviews and whatnot. So the interviews are being picked up by the Toy Chronicle, and they currently are combing through them. I didn't realize how many we did until I sent them over to them, and they're currently formatting them, and so they'll be available at some point.
Hopefully we aren't losing any content. They're just kind of looking at them to make sure that they like everything.
Yeah, I mean, right now I saw a few of them. They forwarded them over to me just to see them. It's the photos and everything transferred over, so it's just putting it on their site and formatting it to look right on their site.
They probably didn't like our ugly colors.
I don't like our ugly colors either. So hopefully
that's what we get for having a black background.
So now hopefully they'll be in a more readable, legible color. And, but it's going to take them some time. I mean, there was over 50 of them to basically upload to their site. So that's no small task. And we appreciate everything that Gary and Andy and the rest of the team over there at Toy Chronicle are doing in order to help bring those, to a larger audience or a new audience or whatever it is that they're going to be. So let's start out, though, with the show. Let's talk about news. What do you got, Ben?
News I'll bring you, because this piece was actually pretty amazing. From OG Slick, for those who follow him and who pay attention to him, he's been drawing his slick hands, and recently he's been turning them into a skull. And what it turned into is a 9-inch resin skull that showed up at his California Loco show at Eastern Projects Gallery in, I assume, California. And so his initial announcement was that there'd be 50 of these, some of them being at the gallery and some of them being through him. And so now that a little bit of time has passed, they are up on his store for his portion to be sold in advance and available December 1st. So the details on that is for the low price of $1,250, you can get the 9-inch hand casted in high impact resin and hand painted and assembled. And so there will be 50 pieces, 5 APs, again, 9 inches tall, signed with a certificate of authenticity and on your doorstep, hopefully before Christmas.
That's a big edition size for a large piece and a piece of that price.
Yeah, well, it seems like some people chose to broadcast their grievances directly to him on his Instagram, and he replied back to them saying, well, some people have no hesitation spending thousands of dollars on a pair of shoes, and yet they take the time to criticize his pricing. So,
I mean, I have no problem. I have no problem with the piece, and I have no problem with it. I just think that I would be interested to see if they sell 50 pieces at $1,000. I mean, that's $50,000.
yeah, I mean, I guess it's 50 and then 5 for the APs.
So
but
$55,000. Like,
yeah,
it's just a lot of it's just a lot of pieces at that price. But
I can't imagine a 9-inch skull with as much detail as there is being incredibly cheap to make.
No,
obviously not
yeah.
$1,250 worth, but
Yep.
maybe $100 or something,
Yeah,
or
I mean,
whatever.
yeah.
Plus, this is also affiliated with a gallery, so a gallery gets a little bit of
and there's the
spoon, a little bit of spoon in that
there's
pot.
the art aspect of it. I mean, it's a very cool looking piece, and it looks like a lot of work went into making it. I mean, that sculpt and casting all that could not be easy.
No.
I just think, wow, that's a lot of money,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of pieces. So we'll see what happens. Be interested to see. Next up, though, we have Kidrobot news. It's kind of an interesting thing because Kidrobot, you may know, recently released a series of Brent Peters Dunnies that were a reissue of a series they did last year called the 13, but this was a glow in the dark edition. They also had success last year with there was an 8-inch Dunny that he designed as well. But now they're expanding and they're opening up what is called the Dark Harbor series. And it features what appears to be 15 new designs. They'll be available in a case of 24 randomly assorted figures. The display case, if you order it from Cardboard or Circus Posterous, which is their store, you would actually get an exclusive figure that's included with it. And it also would be signed by Kathy Olivas and Brant Peters, the artists that designed the series. And right now it's only up for pre-order, but they will be shipping in December of 2017. The reason, that this is and kind of cool to talk about is the fact that these are all original designs. So Kidrobot, generally known for producing their pop culture series based on things like Bob's Burgers and whatnot, and also their art series. But their art series tend to be platform toys. So they'll base it on their Dunnies or some sort of other platform, the Labbit or something like that. It's been a while since we've seen a completely all original series.
Are we counting the fat caps?
Well, fat caps are a platform.
I understand that, but it was that one, like it was that one series that was the fat caps. It wasn't like
They had
fat
three.
caps on a Dunny.
They had 3 series of fat caps. So there was Fat Cap Series 3 all the way up.
Oh,
So,
I was thinking about something.
what are you thinking about? You're
I was
thinking
thinking
you're thinking of the Bent World cans.
Yes.
So again, that was a platform, but I will agree with you. The Bent World Beats would be more of an example of this.
Yeah, since that was a one time.
So the Bent World Beats, if you don't know, they were actually a series designed by Mad that featured like various accessories like headphones and drumsticks and basically music inspired toys that are a bent world, which meant they were like standing and they kind of had like a bend to them, like a gangster lean, I guess you would say. And that's a great example of this. And that's the last one that I can, BFF2 might have been the last one.
The Travis Kane stuff.
Yeah. Where it's original designs created by artists and they're producing all new sculpts and being sold blind box. And it's very cool to see that this is coming up again. And plus some of the designs are really, really cool. Some of them are straight up like based on original Kathy Olivas work, Brant Peters work, but some of them look all new to me. Some I've never seen anywhere. There's this turtle looking guy. I've definitely never seen him. There's this really cool little like man in a like a dive suit, like a vintage dive suit. There's also this really cool looking seahorse, like Captain Sailor guy. I don't know. It's cool looking. I'll be excited to see him. I'm hoping to grab some myself. and find a spot in my collection to show them off because it looks really cool. As for the cost of these, I do not have that in front of me. I'm thinking they're probably like $12 a piece, maybe $10 because the exclusive is a $10 value. So, but anyway, so if you want to grab those, head over to circusposterous.com and you can pre-order them now for an entire case of 24.
All right. I'll blaze too quick since I was promised one, but I found a second one that I remembered and really liked. So earlier, I think during SDCC or a little bit earlier, that they showed a blacked out figure of Terry McPherson and Kidrobot. Obviously, everyone knows it's Wonder Woman just by the outline and their hints. So I saw a picture earlier this week, or maybe even last week, where stores started putting it up for pre-order since the figure itself is coming out in October. And honestly, I really like it. It looks very true to Wonder Woman herself in the Terry McPherson style with the lasso of truth and the symbolic wardrobe. So you can check her out. I guess you can order it, I think, at most of the stores. So that's what I'm blowing through. It was done by Big Shot Toy Works.
Yep.
And very well done.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting as we see more of this Kidrobot pop culture kind of move. From Frank's conversation on the Super Suck Lords podcast when he was on there, he's looking to create more in the style of that Kidrobot Hello Kitty series that they did like a few years back, where they basically allowed the artist to have more freedom with the licensed platform. I feel like that Wonder Woman is not that though. It's very much.
It's very true.
It's very true, but it's in Tara McPherson's like colors. So it's almost like a Tara McPherson colorway of Wonder Woman. I think the Kidrobot Care Bear series that she is also involved in
That's true.
is a much more example of what I think Kidrobot and licensed and artists should be kind of doing. But I will say I am more of a fan of the stylistic approach of this Wonder Woman. It just looks really good, like you said. The Care Bear itself is really cool. It's just not something I would buy, just to be honest. I mean, it's just not something. I'm not interested in Care Bears, and I have no connection to the whole Care Bear thing. So
yeah, it was a fun TV series to casually watch as a kid. But but so the real last piece out of me that I'd committed to was this weekend. Flower Pepper Gallery is hosting Beasts of the Unknown, which they showed off the show flyers. I think today was the first day that I saw them, and I think Facebook corroborates that. But it's open this weekend, September 23rd through October 18th in Pasadena, California, curated by Yetis and Friends, and has a small gathering of artists that I'm not going to name all of them just because otherwise I could cherry pick, and it sounds like we have favorites, but we don't. So Tall Tales speak of the beasts of legends, and so each of the artists submitted works that speak to beasts of the unknown. So check it out if you are around the Flower Pepper Gallery in Los Angeles, California.
more specifically, Pasadena.
More specifically, if you did not know where it was to begin with, it is in Pasadena.
Yes. So that kind of wraps up what we're planning to talk about for news for the week. But I guess first off, what we'll do is do a small recap of why we did the State of Desire toy video in the first place. That happened last year. I believe we released it August 24th, 2016. So we're now just a little bit past 1 year since we released the video.
And a lot keeps happening.
And a lot is still happening. So in the video, we talked a lot about the Rotofugi had released a letter stating their financial issues that they were having. And basically, it was kind of a cry for help to say, buy something if you want to help us out. And apparently people did. There's outpour, and they were able to make their bills, and they have restructured themselves in a way to where they have pop-up stores and rearrange their store, and they're still chugging along up in Chicago. They recently had a pop-up store with Blink-182, Tokidoki. They have their drink and draws. They have all kinds of stuff going on. So it does look like they have figured out a way to make a new business model kind of work, and still holding true to selling designer toys and having regular art shows with artists throughout.
And even around that time, if I remember correctly, that a couple artists started getting itchy with conversations of, I guess, inciting incidents outside of Rotofugi that were kind of getting them irritated or I guess up in arms to speak their voice as far as what they were starting to see about the scene, and I guess their displeasure at the time, or just casual observations that actually kind of spun into a larger conversation among their followers and the community as a whole.
Yeah, and it kind of sparked this whole, like, I feel like it was like a month where everybody who was anybody in designer toys was like, okay, here's my like opinion on the matter.
Yeah.
So we were just one of many, but we felt like we presented some good points, and many of those revolved around the idea of direct to customer sales and how that cuts out different people across the board, retailers, distributors, what it does to the customer, what it does to the scene. The idea that focusing on direct to customer sales cuts out the discovery. So essentially the, stores provide an outlet where somebody can just wander in and they can discover designer toys. And that was a big part of our discussion. Also, being 100% dependent on the idea of social media as a form of advertising. So that was kind of the big discussions we've had. And it was kind of the change in consumer, activity as well. So the rise of designer toys, the fall of, the economy, and the fall of designer toys, where it's kind of balanced out, and everybody kind of going DIY, and what that meant was kind of the major, thing. If you really want to check out the video, stop this podcast right now and go back to the State of Designer Toys Part 1, which can be found over on our YouTube channel. Listen to that, and then listen to this, and maybe you'll be
well informed,
because you probably remember it. You'll remember it way better than we did. And but
since you can tell, as always, with 50 episodes under our belt, or I guess 49 plus this one, we do zero homework. So in spite of the fact that we're talking about something that's very important and very practical for the scene, we didn't do any homework at all.
And it's something we did. It's not even something else. So it's something we did. But basically, we're just going to talk about what we see going on right now in the designer toy world, and how it matches up with what we kind of thought a year ago.
So I think for me, I guess I'll start out with this, with framing what I've done the past year. I haven't really bought a whole lot, whether that's any indication of the scene or not, but I just have not bought a whole lot. And what I have bought has been from artists that are, I guess, casual associates of mine. I'm not going to name names because otherwise people get itchy. But I've mainly been buying from them, it seems like.
Vinyl, resin?
Both. Vinyl, resin, maybe some prints. So obviously that feeds into the direct to sale inadvertently. Like, these things were made available publicly and could have been from a store, SDCC, or whatever they showed up at. But I wound up with just contacting what I use as a quote unquote friend and just talking to them, getting the stuff from them, it seems like.
Yep. Me personally, I haven't bought a ton of stuff. I have bought some Sofubi. Back, that would have been after that video, so it would have been Designer Con. So I bought some Sofubi there. I've been buying action figures, which doesn't help the designer toy scene at all. Some paintings from artists or at galleries. But I haven't bought a ton of designer toys. Like, it's just not something that there hasn't been.
Ben, have you ever been to Chicago?
Well, yes, I have, Travis.
Well, next time you're there, you should make sure to stop and check out this place called Gallery F.
Wow, I've never heard of them before. Where are they located?
They are found at 2415 North Milwaukee Avenue in Chicago, Illinois, and they feature some of the best artists that you can find around.
Really?
They have a major focus on local Chicago artists like J.C. Rivera, Elo, Penny Pinch, T. Monet, and many, many more. And they also bring in people from all over the country and world.
Wow, I'll really have to check them out. Hopefully there's a brewery down the street.
Yeah, you can get yourself a drink and then head over and check out all the posters and original screen prints that they do offer as well in the gallery.
Do they have a downstairs gallery?
Yes, they do. It's called the Underground. You can check out this and more by heading over to galleryf.com.
So, okay, so this kind of plays into two things.
Yeah, it does.
One, both of us had extenuating circumstances where we're both moving, buying a house. We're not necessarily buying toys as much.
Because we're going to have to move them.
We're gonna have to move them. But it also plays into, so I actually did want a bunch of stuff that was coming out. I
From
wanted
that 5-point series?
the designer to the DTA Dunny series. I did want those. But I don't have access to them. Like, I don't really want to go and order them online,
That's true.
but there's no designer toy store here.
And the designer toy store that we do have is an hour away, and they're usually weeks behind on getting anything, if
Yep.
anything.
So we have a record store that does carry. They carry Kidrobot. They carry a lot of blind box stuff basically, and they're usually way behind. They don't get them right away. There's a record store here in Dayton that actually sells Kidrobot, but they only sell. They got a couple of the early they got a couple of the more recent Kidrobot attempts to have artist series like that Amanda Vassell like series with multiple different characters or multiple different designs by her on different platforms. But those didn't do very well, so they didn't get any of the Dunnies. I'd never ordered them online, and I haven't really been anywhere to pick them up.
Like you, I'm a Scrooge for shipping. I want free shipping regardless of what I do because I'm frequenting your store kind of.
And I don't want to buy a whole case of Dunnies because I'm not saying like there's some great designs that series, but I don't want them all. And
with the ratios the way any of them are, you're bound to not get everything you wanted to begin with. So you might as well just be cherry picking from the boards or eBay.
And on top of that, like then even with the boards and eBay, like I didn't want to pay the shipping on one Dunny, like, and I pay like $15 for one Dunny or $20 for one Dunny, you know, like
just for the convenience.
But I want to combine. So like I just haven't got them. So like the other thing is I want the Jen and Tony series that's coming out. I want a bunch of those. I haven't pre-ordered them anywhere. I'm not one to pre-order. This was definitely the year of the pre-order. So it kind of started the year before that, but this year everything is like pre-orders. So that's something that has picked up over the year. I don't know how that's going. As far as it seems like we talked about the pre-order last year in the video, stating that it kind of ruins the hype cycle. And I think we saw that.
Yeah. For the way they scheduled everything, it tramples on everything else. The way the J-Roo curated series went, it got trampled by the Clutter DTA series, which got trampled by another announcement, which trampled a Halloween series, which was trampled by the 13 re-release, which was trampled by.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just the pre-orders thing is great as far as, knowing how much product to make or how much to lock in beforehand, but it's really hard marketing wise, specifically when the J-Roo series and the DTA Dunny series came out literally a month apart. So
which is tough on a consumer.
But if you pre-ordered them separately months before that, you didn't even notice because the pre-order was staged correctly. So it was like a few months apart, right?
Yeah.
But the actual release of the series was boom, right on top of each other, which wasn't necessarily Kidrobot's fault. There was, extraneous circumstances.
Logistical issues.
And the DTA Dunny series really needed to come out at 5 Points Fest, which is a fixed day. So I understand why they did what they did. But I can't say how it affected sales. Like, I don't know. I just know from an outside perspective, like, oh, that's kind of weird. But then as soon as they did that, then they announced the Jen and Tony series and the 13 re-release and the 13 Haunted House. And I mean, Kidrobot is putting out a lot of product. That's not even to mention their pop culture stuff. So Kidrobot is apparently doing well. Yeah, it seems like they've turned it around.
I guess the other example that I guess we have several years ago was when the Azteca 2 and another series came out almost on top of each other, and that affected sales, I believe.
Yeah, I think it did, but you didn't have the pre-orders back then.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the beginning of the slide. So the Azteca 2, they kind of overproduced it. It started showing up everywhere at those like wholesale stores and stuff. You could buy like a case for like $50 or something, like those like extreme discount type sites online and stuff like that. So it was almost like they overproduced. But in the meantime, so we're talking about Kidrobot Fall. Recently, Hucky announced that he is ending his studio production. He showed a picture recently where he'd cleaned out his studio, so it's now empty. He mentioned in his long letter that if you go over to his Facebook or Instagram, you can check
website,
or website. Yeah, you can check out his kind of like expose on why he did it. He mentioned that back in the day, he would sell out 100,000 piece Dunny series in a day.
I could see that. Like that Gold Life series was really good.
And that, I believe that's what he was referring to, because the Gold Life series was the one series he was by himself. I don't think Kidrobot's producing anywhere near 100,000 piece Dunny series now. I mean, I don't personally know the numbers that they're running, but there's no way. Like, they can't be producing that many, because that would have been, if you think about it, that probably is why the Azteca series was sitting there, is because they were producing a high quantity of figures, and they didn't have anywhere to sell them.
Yeah.
So as far as other information, as we talked about with Huck leaving, we've had a major artist, probably one of the top 5 designer toy artists in the world, as you would on a list of names that probably people would probably put him at the top as one of the godfathers of this, right? And you had him step down. You've had another store, Rivet, in Columbus, Ohio, closing. We've heard that if you listen to the Marsham Toy Hour a couple weeks ago, Aaron from Martian Toys was on there saying that he doesn't know if it's just because of like personal issues or if it's his store is just not doing as well. So he may keep it open, he may shut it down. Nobody knows at this point. It's kind of up to him. But there's another example of maybe another designer toy store that's going to go under here in the next 6 months to a year. We're still struggling with the same thing we talked about last year. The scene is still hindered by this direct to customer sale. So is it a good thing or a bad thing? Is it Amazon that's killing designer toy stores? Probably not. I don't even know if you can buy Dunnies on Amazon, but the idea that Amazon portrays is kind of what's killing. It's killing retail in general.
I could get Prime shipping on Dunnies, I'd probably buy them from Amazon.
So I mean, it's almost as if the idea of shipping and ordering and all this stuff, we're so used to getting free shipping from Amazon or wherever that we don't want to pay shipping online to even get these things from like a store
and
a designer toy store.
I'll probably misquote the number anyway, but I know like Tenacious Toys always had free shipping, but there was a threshold, which I think was $100.
Yep.
Rotofugi for a number of years had a low threshold, but had to raise it, I think, because I think it was 25, and then they had to raise it to something different.
Yeah.
So for a number of years, there was free shipping that way. Or now it's, I think, $5 shipping, which I guess you get priority, you get fast shipping. So
yeah, but it's not even their fault. It's not even their fault that shipping is going up. I mean, the post office constantly raises prices. It's just it's really hard to pay $3 to $5 for shipping
when you're ordering like one Dunny.
You're ordering $10 worth of something.
Which I think that example is in the noise. Obviously, there's going to be one person who just wants one Dunny, and they're forced into either not buying the Dunny or paying a total of $15 for something.
Yep.
Or I guess I assume most people would buy a handful of Dunnies and be able to justify $5 being spent on shipping.
Yeah, I just think that's part of. We didn't really talk about. We talked about shipping costs, but we didn't really focus on it. I think that is something that is still hurting designer toys as a whole, just because. It's added cost on top of something that you're paying. I don't want to say a premium for, but it's especially if you're paying like $100 for a figure, you're already paying $100 for something you don't really need. It's something you want. It's something you want to have. It's something you want to have in your house, and you're paying another $15 to $20 on top of shipping, right?
Yeah, and I think for me, as far as like the casual blind box of $12 or whatever they are right now, I personally would. There's the sensation of someone going into a store, picking out a blind box and having their fate be determined that way, as compared to the jumbo lottery. You get someone's hand out picking the spot that you would never pick in the box and shipping it to you. Yeah. So you kind of lose that sensation of being able to choose your own destiny as far as shaking it, feeling it, weighing it, and that the whole experience.
And maybe that's why I'm struggling with buying the DTA series, because I know I'm kind of like looking for specific ones. So I want to be able to like feel like I'm trying to get the ones I want, maybe that's why I'm struggling with that idea. But also, so that begs the question. So, Funko, everybody, Funko. I can pick exactly which one I want.
Yep.
So the 5-inch Dunny, which came out in the last couple of years, they're packaged in a way that you can see which one you're buying.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that's a conscious decision by Kidrobot to maybe open up people to the idea of a dunny. I don't know. But I do feel like so let's say in the next 2 or 3 years that, Kidrobot's in Barnes and Noble's right now and they sell blind box, but you pick up the blind box and boom, it's a Bob's Burger blind box, right? Oh man, I might get this guy. I might get, Linda, right? Or Tina,
Linda, Tina,
Bob.
Bob.
I cheat. I'll use Bob.
Yeah.
I might get any of those people. Okay, I'll take a chance on it. But how do you convey? So the Kidrobot Dunnies used to be at places, right? They used to be at American Urban Outfitters. There we go.
Or American Apparel.
Urban Outfitters,
Yeah.
American Apparel. You would see them at not Barnes and Nobles, Books a Million. They used to have them here in Dayton at Books a Million, and they would always just sit there, and like nobody would get them, and then finally somebody would put them on huge clearance, and they'd clear them out, right?
Yeah.
Well, the reason that is because they were just sitting on a shelf, and nobody was marketing them, and nobody knew what they were. So if I have, especially now that blind boxes are $12 a piece, I know what Bob's Burgers is, and if I'm going to risk $12, I'm going to risk it on something that I know. Well, if I get Tina, I'll be happy, but if I get Bob, I'll be okay too. If Dunnies are sitting there and I'm going to pay $12 for them, and I pick up the box and it doesn't say anything about, it just says it's like an art toy. I'm like, I don't know what an art toy is. I know what toys are. Well, this would be kind of cool on my desk, but I don't really like those three. And I have no connection to any of these people, and I have no idea I don't even know that these people are artists.
Yeah,
right?
and so what you said kind of, it requires the finesse of either you open up the box, not physically opening up the box, but creating like the clear face where you can see what you're buying, which panders to either a very good design by an artist you may not care about or know about, or a popular artist. In series past, there have been designs that have not met expectations due to simplicity or just poor execution. Not going to name names, but by opening up that box, it forces you as an artist or a company to either have excellent designs or designers who have a loyal following that would buy the design.
Yes.
Otherwise, if you have a turd design or someone who may not have as loyal of a following, you open up that box and they sit.
Hey everyone, this is Travis Likens from the UVD Weekly Wrap-Up, and we're here today to tell you about a store.
We've got Strange Cat toys, they've got toys for you, and some beard supplies, so check them out.
StrangeCatToys.com, where you'll receive 10% off if you use the code UVD at checkout.
I think there's one more piece to this Bob's Burgers, you drop it on the table, and it already has a giant marketing truck behind it, and that truck has a TV show, so people feel a connection to it. I think in designer toys there needs to be if it's going to go the route of we're shutting down our brick and mortar stores as far as designer toy specific stores, so now we're moving from niche up to big box store. We'll say they end up in Target, right? Because anybody, Target sells their shelf space. So anybody could do this. So if NECA or Kidrobot wanted to buy some shelf space, they could do it. But there has to be like a point of sale, almost like advertisement, something that catches your eye, that explains in a very simple way what designer toys are. Something that says, we are art, we are toys. It's something that says that, but it has to also catch your eye and make you want to inquire within.
Yes. And even from that, you have the two different factions of people. The people that have zero idea what it is, and you have to tell them that it's cool. And the people who know what it is, and you have to, and this is something I think we touched last year, and I think bears repeating, is that a lot of people have become store agnostic. Whether I go to Target or whether I go to insert brick and mortar store that is a mom and pop shop, a lot of consumers do not care where they get it from.
Nope.
As long as they're getting it.
And they get it for cheap.
It's a cheap, or at least the better of the prices.
Free
that
shipping.
offered. Free shipping, low price, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
So a lot of brick and mortars, I'm sure, have felt this and see this and know this, that they need to effectively do something to convince a consumer, me as a consumer, anyone as a consumer, to come specifically to that store and buy something.
So that's the whole like experience thing.
Yes.
So people are kind of like to the point where stores can no longer set stuff on the shelf and people will just come there and buy it. So now it's all about how can I make I'm the cool place to go. Is kind of the way that people are going to for the future be able to, kind of save themselves. I guess the Apple Store was kind of the first thing, right? It's kind of the store you walk in and, you can touch everything and play with everything. And it all works. It's not just like a safety mode or something. Like you can
a cardboard mock-up.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want to do with it. Yeah, you remember like when we were kids and you'd go to like a electronics store and they have like a cardboard computer? Mm-hmm. I'm at a store where I can buy electronics. Why is there a fake version of this thing there? So like the Apple Store approach to retail. So designer toys and how they fit into that is at some point we have to figure out a way to convince people that what we're selling is cool and what we're selling is something you need. And currently I think that's the communication that we're lacking in, because almost all of the like pop culture stuff is strictly selling itself on the fact that, I know what Bob's Burger is. I know what DC is. I want a Batman dunny. Like that's kind of where we're stuck, and how do we change the wheels? And I think it's a marketing job for us to somehow convince people to be interested. It doesn't even necessarily have to convince them to buy, but it has to convince them to stop, look, and then the pieces, people were probably stopping and looking even when those were sitting at, bookstores and nobody knew what they were. People were probably stopping and looking, but when they picked it up and they were like, okay, what is this? They sat it back down and they walked away. So there needs to be almost like an instruction manual that says, this is cool. And the right person that comes along that's interested in design or art is going to see it and be like, art, toys. This is cool. Like I'm going to buy one. And that's what's missing currently. They need that instruction manual.
I think while we're harping on marketing, something we touched on last year, and I think is still very true, is the fact that artists are continuing to use Instagram for better or for worse. And there's limited marketability with Instagram or social media if you have no following.
And also, since our last video, Instagram has changed their policy. You no longer is it a state timeline feed, as everybody probably knows. There's all these algorithms and click likes and all this crap that now no longer, they curate what you look at. So now it's like I click on things and it's like, well, that's really cool. What is that?
From 2 months ago.
Yeah, it's from like 2 months ago. And that's sold out. So
and I barely even scroll down. It's from 3 months ago. It's like, I really wish I would have known about that 3 months ago.
Yeah. So, I mean, we kind of said you can't depend on these social medias to be your only form of outreach.
And so not only are we losing brick and mortar stores, we're losing
our marketing.
fake brick and mortar blogs if everyone's doing their own blogging on an Instagram platform.
Yep. And we're losing the blogs. We're no longer blogs, so we're no longer an outreach.
And I mean, even holistically, our inbox has not appreciably changed much over the past year of us saying, contact us, let us know, contact us.
That hasn't changed.
Nothing's really changed.
Yeah, we get the same press releases. We get the same artists for the most part reaching out to us. New people, like most people are still just saying, okay, I'll post it on Instagram and see what happens.
And we have no idea who you are.
Yep. And we may never have seen your stuff and we never may know anything about you, but somehow we were supposed to then help market you. So
help us help you.
Yeah, exactly.
Second iteration of this.
Urban
Please
Vinyl Daily
email us. urbanvinyldaily@gmail.com.
So.
Send us pictures. Send us
info.
Descriptions of what you're trying to have us talk about. And we'll be more than happy to oblige once a week, assuming that we get this before filming or taping or whichever avenue we go with this non-video aspect of it.
Yep.
So, I know we've harped on marketing. We've harped on direct to sale.
I feel like another area we talked a lot about was I feel like customs are dead.
That's for the most part, yeah.
Like
it
there's
just,
a few
it just
there's a
doesn't
few artists
feel like there's a whole lot going on with that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few artists, that are Josh Mayhem selling customs. We're not going to sit here and list them, but there's still like artists that they sell a lot of customs. But custom shows,
Almost non-existent.
almost non-existent as far as usually we had one at Rotofugi, Luna, for the Luna figure, and went really well for us. We sold a high percentage of the toys, but there's not custom shows every month. I don't even think anymore. Like there used to be like one every week, and now there's one every few months.
And even like looking at the stores that used to consistently have shows either once a month, twice a month, whatever consistency it was, that it just, even like looking at stores in New York, stores in Los Angeles, it just does not feel like that same intensity is there anymore.
Yeah, I mean, not at all. It's just, I don't know. It's weird. We're in a weird spot where I think we're going to continue to see more stores going to online only for their designer toys stuff. But I think in the larger companies are going to have to turn to the Hot Topics, the places you're seeing, pop culture toys today, Hot Topics, Barnes and Nobles, bookstores type places. And I think eventually they're going to have to break into bigger stores. I mean, Toys R Us going bankrupt, but that's a whole nother thing. Mm-hmm. Toys R Us does carry the loyal subjects. They do carry, they have some Kidrobot and stuff like that in certain places. Target does have loyal subject stuff as well. So, I mean, eventually they're going to have to go into these bigger box stores, but once they get there, there's some splaining to do.
Yeah. To backtrack a second, with online stores, I happen to remember some people doing an online art show and getting absolutely beat up over the fact that they need to be in a brick and mortar. Yet it seems like people are pushing for online.
Yeah,
I'm just going to say that whoever got beaten up, they did not deserve to get beaten up over trying to.
So one of Ben's early projects for Urban Vinyl Daily was an art show that he managed called what was it called? Blow Me.
Yeah.
The show dedicated to cartridge gaming. Mm-hmm. And so essentially we had an entire online store set up and basically original pieces designed by artists, created customs for the most part.
And our intent was to not have artists on this timeline that every artist seems to fall into when they have to ship something.
Yep.
This way they hold on to it and sell it through us. When we take the money, give them the money, they ship it out. That way there's no super express overnight $100 for a $10 piece to get to us sort of stuff.
And the other advantage of this to the artists was we actually only charged like a 20% commission fee when normally a gallery charges like 50. So the 20% was to cover credit card processing and just a little bit of our time for marketing and advertising and all that kind of stuff. We
got beat up.
We got, there was a previous, probably one of the first Desire Toy podcasts you heard. They lit us up for a while and we got some other flack. This was before Instagram, but we got like some flack on social media and all that kind of stuff for doing a stupid idea, stupid concept. And to note, we were not the only people doing it, but we were probably one of the larger established
things
doing it. And, but anyway, so online shows, I still don't think are a thing. I think after we got lit up by the internet, they kind of went away.
As no result thanks to us, but I can as a concurrence.
So, I mean, occasionally you do see it where people are selling like customs, like a group of customs or something. But I think online shows are also dead. Thanks to us, but probably mostly because of us. But direct to customer, man. Like that was a big part of our last conversation, and that has not changed. Like it is, if not going further.
It's deadlocked in there.
I think if you look at, people are just not willing to or not able to because of increased costs of production and shipping and all these things. There's not room on some of these products to even offer a wholesale price to a store to sell.
And I think with that leads us into another point that I think we talked about earlier that we wanted to discuss is the Asia takeover.
Yeah.
with the direct to customer, and not a whole lot of domestic stores being able to get on that for reasons like the production, the shipping, I guess the split as far as what these stores would have to buy them at to sell them, sort of stuff.
Yeah, there's a few aspects of it that are interesting to talk about. The first being that some of these toys are extremely hard to get. Instinct toys in general, their runs seem to be relatively low, and many of the toys are not readily available for anybody to purchase to have in their store, regardless of whether or not they were able to offer a wholesale price at all. Some of the companies that do offer the wholesale, they do like a discount. It's not really a wholesale. It's like they give them like a 30% discount, but by the time you ship it, you don't make any money. Like by the time you pay to ship it to America from wherever it's from, you don't make any money. So
you have to say that when you pay that $30, you get it like the next hour is what it seems like from Asia. Is you place an order and it's there yesterday.
And the other thing too is that, so even if you're buying it wholesale, we'll just say from Mighty Jacks, right? A lot of these companies offer like highly discounted shipping from their respective country, because they must be subsidizing it in some way. And then, so it's way cheaper for, a U.S. customer to buy it direct from them anyway, instead of going to, we'll say, Martian Toys or Strange Cat Toys or any of those places. So people just order direct. So that's another problem. And then the another, thing is that, and we're kind of getting mixed reports. I haven't actually been to these Asian cons that go on, but like these Asian cons like STGCC, if you look at the videos and the tapes and like trying to think of some of those Japanese conventions, but they're blanking at the moment. I mean, you see the videos and stuff, and people are just everywhere, like thousands of people, buying these toys and getting excited about them and stuff.
People are everywhere anyway in Asia, but
yeah, but I mean, like that has not translated over here.
No.
And my question, and I still haven't really got a strong answer, is are the people in Asia aware of a lot of the stuff that's over here? Or do we need to send more like companies over there? Like, kind of like what people used to do at like Comic-Con, right? We'd send, we'll just say Dragatomi. Dragatomi's there, and then you put your product in Dragatomi's like store.
Yeah.
Do we need to like have more people going over there that kind of represent, and we ship our product over there to kind of get a new excitement in Asia about products we're producing, in Asia, but from America.
Or really, I think if the Western stuff even latches on, like we as Westerners enjoy the Eastern stuff coming over and collect it and stuff like that. But
is it reciprocated?
I just don't think it's reciprocated.
Like does a dunny make sense to somebody?
I don't think a dunny really speaks to them.
What about a Luna?
It's a possibility. I mean, you're going more towards the
critter,
the critter, and
like a monster,
the monsters, the kaiju,
it's got horns.
like that. I guess whether it's true or not, I feel is closer to their cultural norms of like the monsters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Whereas our culture has nothing to do with a dunny or anything like that appropriated.
But the bear brick though, so like the idea of a platform toy does translate.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just it's one of those things where I really would like to, maybe we could talk to somebody from Flab Slab or somewhere. What is the excitement over there for Western toys in America? In Asia.
Yeah.
And where is the idea that designer toys are dead or dying or whatever in America only predicated on the idea that Americans are becoming disinterested? Is the new market, we still have a market, but it's in a different country. So do we need to expand to countries that we aren't currently doing work in? Some of these Asian countries have a lot of stuff going on. UK has Toy-Con UK that seems to be going strong. Is there another country that we could go to? There was some, I think, artists that went to Dubai. I think Jesse and JPK went to Dubai with a bunch of stuff. Could we go to Spain? Could we go to, I don't know, other places than Joy Art, France? They have toys. They have designer toys there. And there's toy stores there.
Even like the Toy-Con UK is, I feel like, a response to like an SDCC or an NYCC. Designer Con, what have you. But it's the European equivalent of whatever. So it's the European artists, maybe a couple casual, I guess, American artists, I guess
Travel over. Yep.
Jeremiah Kettner travels from Japan.
Yeah.
But it's
Martian toys.
To me, it's like it's equivalent in that we have like the what I'll call American artists doing the American thing in the American conventions,
Yep.
whereas like the ToyCon UK has the European, the Asiatic, the
Yep.
some American artists doing the same thing.
Yeah. It's just, it's hard to kind of, do it all, I guess. Like
Yeah.
it's just the traveling and the cost of shipping and, joining everything. Like it costs a lot. And it just makes it hard for people to travel to these different places. So it's just, I don't know how we expand the market or grow the audience, I guess you would say, any more than we are without discovery. I think our idea and concept of a marketing campaign inside a larger store that puts more eyes on walls, I guess you would say, right? Like that might be a way, because I mean, up until some time ago, like nobody knew what Bob's Burgers was, but it had a TV show, like that kind of a thing. Maybe the issue is that, so while many of the artists have story, right, that goes along with their character, what's missing is some sort of storytelling vehicle, TV, short stories like Grief Encounters, explaining the artwork, explaining the character, creating something that people can latch onto. So right now, I buy a Dunny, we'll say, or I'll buy a Luke Chu piece. This is a great example. So I have a Luke Chu piece. It looks really cool. It's based on one of his paintings. That's awesome. I'm connected to Luke. So I set said Luke Chu piece up in on a table in a park. People walk by, oh, that's cool. They just keep walking by. They have no connection to Luke. They have no idea who Luke is or anything like that. So they just keep walking by. So nobody's going to buy that because they don't, unless they just think it looks really, really cool, they might buy it then. But if there was some sort of way, internet, movie, video thing, a comic book, something that you could develop a story that kind of told Luke's Bear's story, his little videos, Grief Encounters, would people feel more connected? Because right now it's just an object based on somebody's art that probably has a story, because the character maybe it's just not just a character, it has a story. If we created some sort of vehicle to tell said story, would that help expand the universe, expand the universe as in Designer Toys, would it help expand the audience and help people feel a connection to the characters that they're seeing?
I realize with audio you can't see the fact that I was just kind of staring at the ceiling trying to think about something, but since I just admitted to what I was doing, I'll explain why I said such. So I was trying to think about like what kind of got me hooked and what kept me kind of interested or entertained with spending money that I didn't need to be spending on stuff. And so I think around the time I started collecting and Travis also started collecting, like discovered like the 64 colors Marshalls, which was new and interesting and unique. So I think they probably came out about the same time. So that kept me interested in collecting those. About the same time, like the Luke Chu 8-inch Flock Dunny came out, very popular. He hasn't released something kind of like that through Kidrobot recently. So that involves more of a timing that it happened to be released when I was interested. And for anyone who discovers it, they have to pay a premium for it or find it or whatever the combination is. So it seems like over time, in order, like for me to keep interested, I either found things that had recently been released or things were released as I was interested in them. So I guess I've collected less and less as our stories have told. But like even like I'm not trying to be frugal with money. I would buy stuff that I'm interested in, but like that same sort of like timing and interest just has not happened for me over the past couple of years of things being interesting that I want to buy. Unlike like the Kidrobot big figures for Simpsons. Like they had the Ralph, they had the Kang Kodos, which I was interested in and happened to be released around the same time that I was interested. Whereas anyone who's interested in them now has to pay hundreds of dollars for them, which is a turnoff for a lot of people.
Yep.
So I think for me, probably for you, it's happenstance as far as when stuff was released and it happening to coincide with that.
Yep.
Whereas recently it's been Dunnies, not a whole lot of other stuff, and so it really relies on people having that interest at that exact time for those designs.
Yep. And two things. One, I don't think I've ever said this, but the way I figured out what Dunnies were, so I was aware of them, or I was aware of toys before I ever purchased one. So oftentimes people discover them, and that's how they found them. The way I figured out about a Dunny was there was some sort of cake show that was on, like, one of those channels. I don't know, one of like,
like a Cake Boss or
no. Yeah. But it was something way before that.
Oh, yeah.
And they made a cake for a couple and they happened to make it look like a Dunny. That's how I figured out what a Dunny was. And then I seeked out, like, eventually started like researching and kind of seeing, oh, these things look kind of cool. And then found a place that carried them at the mall. That was the only place that I knew that carried them. And I went and bought some. That's how I discovered Dunnies. So that, like, I think that too, I think discovery is a big thing, and getting it in the eyes of other people is huge, like the in store or on TV or something like that. But also, so for me, updating like where I'm at, I used to buy like more of the blind boxes or like production releases that people were doing. And I bought artwork and stuff like that as well. But eventually I started buying soft vinyl pieces. And soft vinyl pieces, because of lottery systems and the exclusivity of them, like, you kind of get to a point where you're like, if I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. I'll just wait till the next round and maybe I'll like something else. I'll put in for it. If I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. But I'm ready to go. So I kind of got out of the idea of just buying to buy, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of like, well, if I win, I'll buy it. If I don't, I'll move on to the next one. I'm not going to go pay $2,000 for this thing, because many of them do have like a really high flip value. So I'm not going to pay somebody 6 times what it costs to buy it, so it's kind of one of those things where I guess I kind of got into the swing of just not buying, like, and if I get lucky and I win, I buy. Mm-hmm. If I get lucky and don't win, don't buy. I don't spend my money.
That's true.
So that's part of it too. And it's just, we're in a really strange point. But if as far as like connecting to something, do you think having something out there, if it could get traction, a cartoon series, like a small web thing, or like what Skinner was doing with his like Skinner interviews with people like the Melvins.
Yeah.
Like if he started like putting a little commercial in there about his toys, like that kind of a thing, like getting in more people involved by product placement and video. Like, cause I remember back in the day, there were Buff Monster pieces on Dexter. Mm-hmm. Like there was TV shows that had like toys in them.
There was a recent one that showed the Bartholomew Punchy Face on just a random episode that was like a pilot episode for something.
Yeah. The Lollygag is on the Lollygag figure. It's on Big Bang Theory.
Yeah. He
had the androids on Big Bang Theory. Like product placement and features and like having these things. I think that is the key, because people don't know. There's people that love this stuff and they don't even know it exists. It's like your favorite band, probably you have never heard them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And so I think as you talk, I think about like discovery. So I think there's a little bit of a separation between, like, say, the Wonder Woman that we talked about earlier, the lines of figures that are being produced. I feel creates like a false equivalence. You're buying it for the design. You're not buying it for the brand. So you have, at that point, you could care less about Kidrobot. You want a Wonder Woman figure, you buy a Wonder Woman figure. You want Ninja Turtles, you buy Ninja Turtles. And so that really creates no brand association with, hey, Kidrobot or the Loyal Subjects or blah, 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 produce these. There's no brand attachment to that. And so as far as that's a separate thing. Like a Wonder Woman from anyone could be put on a show and you would see it as Wonder Woman. Whereas if, say, a Mad Ninja from 2008 or whenever that was put on a shelf, not a lot of people would probably recognize it, honestly.
Yep.
And so,
but if
there's some sort of equivalence that somehow needs to happen where someone could just pass by an image of something and be able to equate it to, hey, this was by Kidrobot. I don't know who the artist was, but chances are this was by Kidrobot. Chances are this was by Flab Slab. This is by whomever. But I think that's a steep uphill battle to try to get brand recognition back to where it needs to be.
I think I think storytelling has to be the aspect of it. I think storytelling within, so Kidrobot did a lot of one and dones, right? So boom, we got a series of 10 artists. They did some awesome stuff. Here's some things. They never did anything else with them, right? Mm-hmm. So I think they've kind of changed that. It appears that they are doing things, specifically a good example is this Brant Peters stuff we talked about earlier. They created a Dunny series. Dunny series was all them. The story was all told within their pieces. They did another series. They added a building to it, and now they did an 8-inch Dunny, and now they're doing a series of original characters. So Kidrobot is no longer, okay, we really like what you're doing, make us a Dunny. They're more like, hey, we really like what you're doing. We see like a 2 to 5 year plan for you. Here's what we want to do. So I think they're creating a world that people can collect in. So before it was, we're creating a platform that you want to collect. Now we're creating, you like Brant Peters? We're going to give you more Brant Peters, collect more Brant Peters, right? So they're focusing more on artists that have a wide variety of characters, a wide variety of storytelling within their pieces. So said character is, this, we'll just say a guy with a skull. He has this item that creates an action. So he has an accessory or something that goes along with him. And that's telling a small story within that. I think the piece that is missing is the next wave where these figures fit into some story that is being told. So we'll just say Charlie does this and Jim does this, and that's why they're together. So one has this accessory and one has this accessory because they work and go together and do this thing.
Yeah. And I think even in this example, even if a story doesn't end up being told, the characters and designs of Kathy and Brant are on display, which I assume, as a casual collector who may come across it, that may draw them down the Stranger Factory path to come across maybe a Chris Reiniak or whatever Stranger Factory is producing, whether it be a more Brant or Kathy self-produced things.
Yep.
So in this example, it's a good gateway, I believe, where it's original designs, not just slapped onto a Dunny or slapped into constraints. It's individual figures that fit within the molding constraints that Kidrobot is willing to accept, and is, I think, based on the picture that we've been pimping on our phones, that
the Dark Harbor series.
Yeah, the Dark Harbor series, that it's a very good representation of what their designs are, like without the constraints of being on a major platform figure. Here's some miniature versions of what these people are known for.
Yep.
Buy them.
Yep. I still think even with that series, there's some really cool looking stuff. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I still think the thing that will always limit it is that people do not, other than the people that are already their fans or their collectors or designer toy collectors, they don't have a connection to it. So it's never going to survive on a retail shelf outside of a designer toy store where people can say, this is what it is. It's really cool. You should really check out Kathy and Brant. Like, there has to be something in that store that props it up. There has to be that person. They're not the person, because there's not going to be a retail Target employee that's like, man, you're missing out because you're not buying these designer toys over here. That's not going to happen. There's got to be something there that tells everybody that this is cool and this is why. And it's got to be a product placement thing.
Even this, it relies on the person to knowingly aim to go to, say, Burbank adjacent, to specifically go to a store and look for a swath of things.
Yep.
Otherwise, like, I'm not going to drive my car around Burbank adjacent and be like, let me see if I can find a toy.
So I can go to 3D Retro.
Or at any such place that fits within this narrative. Like,
well, Burbank adjacent is 3D Retro. So that's
I know, but where, like Portland, Oregon, Los Angeles, California, Chicago, wherever I am driving my car, like, I have to already be knowing that I'm going to this place as a collector, but a random person in a car on the street, I don't think is going to purposely say, hey, let me drive specifically to blank and see if I find any blank.
Random thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like at that point, you're hoping. It's almost like we've created all these products and we put them out on a big giant map, and people are like, oh, I'm going to go to that specific place to get this specific thing. And that's not going to happen because a lot of these people don't even know exists. So how would they ever know to drive to 3D Retro? That there may be somebody that they love that they'd be like, oh, this is the best piece I've ever seen in my life. I got to own it. But they don't even know it exists. And we're still going to have that problem. Like without some sort of larger blanket where it's almost like everybody unifies together, right?
Yeah.
So right now, everybody's still, we talked about this before, very self-reliant, self-marketing, self-building. Everybody's focused on building their particular thing. It's almost like everybody in the designer toy community needs to come together and everybody chip in like $100 and buy an ad space somewhere.
And I kind of wonder to what extent cross-pollination happens. Like I'll use the example of Rivet. I know Rivet would go to every-ish arts and crafts event that was in the general Columbus area and would just have a booth. Probably wasn't costing a whole lot, but an attempt to cross-pollinate. I know when I have gone to Renegade up in Chicago in the past, I know I've seen Gallery F, I think, there as a cross-pollination, but I don't think I've seen...
Shawnimals was there once.
Shawnimals is there, but I haven't seen Rotofugi, which... whether they choose to participate or not, but I view that as a cross-pollination.
Where it's people that are not necessarily your target market, but they're close enough that you might pull in some new people.
Where it's arts and farts and stuff like that. And so people may be like, oh, I like this design. Let me pay $13 for it. In a way, you have a customer. You may hook them, you may not, but at least you've made a sale through cross-pollination. So I guess outside of those examples, I kind of wonder like what other stores or what other entities actively try to, I guess, waste a little bit of money on a gamble.
Yeah. Another thing too, we talk about how great DesignerCon and 5 Point Fest is. It is great. Like these are awesome shows where if you're a fan of this is like, Mecca or whatever. But they're leading towards where people are, not going to the larger cons anymore. And I'm not saying the larger cons were generating like tons of cross-pollination, as you would call it, Ben. But as we continue to turn inward instead of outward, is putting all our eggs in the DesignerCon and 5 Points basket really the best thing for growing the scene? Or are we just, feeding the same people over and over again?
As far as I guess I'll lead with Decon. I know with the years that we've been active and participating, it's grown, obviously.
Yeah, the show has grown like crazy. Don't get me wrong. And there's more people there.
With growth and with more people participating, it kind of spawned into everybody and their brother participating. And I think this year, and I guess over the past year or so, has gotten more expensive to participate in. So, and more tough to get into as well. I guess with booths selling out within...
The entire show is sold out.
Minus days. So pretty much you have to know someone or be on a list to have gotten, I guess, a booth earlier than what others knew about. But I don't know where I was going with that. But I think,
like, where are you going with this?
I think DesignerCon is starting to grow beyond where I think it's comfortable maybe. I know it's getting popular. Yeah. People enjoy going to it. But as far as what I think we saw when we first joined in 2010-ish, that I thought, like, I felt a little bit more, like, I felt more comfortable there. Like, it was like the grassroots-ish, independent-ish sort of stuff.
Yeah.
With, I guess, obviously, it was a smaller crowd that was there as far as vendors. Yeah. And in years that progressed, people got up the gumption to buy their own booths and not be purchasers from other booths. So more power to them. But it's just, I kind of worry about its success a little bit, that it may have outgrown how it's built itself as a grassroots, independent, small scale, bring your family to event.
I think as long as they keep the booth prices down, though, they're still going to sell out. Like, I
mean, regardless.
So like as an event, I think it's still going to be a success because they're going to have tons of people coming through because it's cheap to get in, and that's great because then people have money to spend in the show. But as far as, every show has this where one or two people are, selling things like crazy. You go over by Paul Kaiju's booth and he sells out everything, right? And then you go by the UVD Toys booth and they're kind of chilling.
Yeah, and even I guess I wasn't there 2 years ago, so I don't have experience on that other than the fact that Kaiju was probably selling like hotcakes as it does every year. But I feel like there were more booths over time that were consistently selling when we first started as compared to the 3 or 4 booths that were, I guess, maybe a handful of booths with several of them Kaiju leaning that had massive crowds selling very well.
Yeah. I think also too, though, like, so 2010, 11, 12, probably up to 12. A lot of times there was booths there that, UVD Toys or Urban Vinyl Daily at the time was a good example, where we were basically having custom pieces or, limited runs of things from artists. And we were successful. And the way we were successful was because none of those people had booths. So flash forward a couple of years and our model no longer worked because what we were doing, we were trying to compete then with artists that had booths at we were trying to compete with product from people that ended up getting booths at DesignerCon.
Or even similarly, where at whatever juncture that we were kind of the sole proprietor that had maybe a Bots or maybe a Hazabaz.
Yep.
But then as they got more popular, they started to spread out a couple different booths.
More people would approach them. And they
so
would have
effectively,
more pieces.
they start competing with themselves.
Yep.
And we as the booth ends up competing with the other booths. But so it kind of dilutes the effect a little bit.
The good news for UVD Toys is this will be our first year where we have all of our own original product.
Coupled with the Bots.
I mean, the Bots will be at the booth. They're sharing the booth with us, but it's all our own original produced product. So no longer are we...
It's about damn time.
No longer are we kind of, dealing in the custom or extremely limited run handmade pieces. So we'll see. Doesn't mean it's going to be more in sales. I don't know, but you can come see me. I'll be there Saturday and Sunday pushing new items and product. So if you want to come check us out, we'll be, I forget what it was. Was it TF16?
The frickin' 16.
Yeah, the frickin' 16. That's where we're at. So check us out over in that weird side thing. But I guess I feel like we've kind of rambled on for long enough for this particular video. We might have to readdress things. The way I think we should approach this is this: if you've made it this far and you like, and you have something to say, or you agree or disagree, or you have comments to add, please do so by commenting down below here on YouTube, or you can send an email to urbanvinyldaily@gmail.com, and maybe we'll read it on the air, talk about it.
Or maybe it'll help us focus on, I guess, the next time we do something along these veins to be a little bit more organized instead of trying to remember and ramble and remember at the same time.
Yeah, and we can give our opinions on whatever it is that your thoughts or additions to this conversation. We'd like to, kind of continue the conversation, maybe address this a little more frequently than every year even. So if you want to do that, send them over to urbanvinyldaily@gmail.com or comment below, and we will try to do our best to answer. If you guys didn't know,
what do we need to know?
You can pick up things like all of our designer toy creations and
I thought this was going to be massive news or something like
and
that.
pens over at uvdtoys.com. And you'll be able to grab anything that we are producing. Look for more product to be coming in the next couple of months. So we have lots of cool stuff lined up, so you'll see. But I guess that's it. As always, I'm Travis.
And I'm Ben.
Have a great designer toy day. Thanks for checking out our video right here on youtube.com/urbanvinyldaily. While you're here, make sure to give us a subscribe and a like. And if you're so gracious, you can share this video on your favorite social network. You can always give us a follow on Instagram or Twitter @urbanvinyldaily, or find us on Facebook by going to facebook.com/urbanvinyldaily, and you'll be able to keep up with our latest posts and information going on in the world of UVD. If you want to help us out in more of a monetary way, you can always head over to our store, urbanvinyldaily.storeenvy.com, and check out all the awesome things we have available from great artists from all over the world. Or you can head over to our PayPal and just straight up donate to us to help us keep the lights on and keep things going by going to paypal.com and sending money over to urbanvinyldaily@gmail.com. And that will help us out in more ways than you know. If you want to keep up with everything going on in the world of UVD, make sure to head over to urbanvinyldaily.com. Or if you're interested in sponsorship information, a comment, or a question, make sure to head over to urbanvinyldaily@gmail.com and send us a message. And if it's good enough, we'll answer it right here on the UVD Weekly Wrap-Up. As always, this has been an Urban Vinyl Daily production.